people are saying they're angry because this Amber Heard makes the women who really are abused, she's perpetuating the stereotype that women create false charges against men. Well, that does happen, but I know there are many, many, many cases where the men are able to spin in the opposite direction and take a woman who's been victimized. It is far from uncommon for an abuser to use the court system against those it is supposed to protect. For an abuser to use the court system against those it is supposed to protect. The judge then granted him the protection order. So I saw in many comments, like, this is what women do. Men are always screwed in court. Let me just tell you, that is not true. And women do not have the upper hand. I know that this is... Hey guys, Steph Roberts here. I just wanted to do this kind of impromptu episode, kind of in a response to a few things that have come up. Number one, the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard trial. That, I don't know about you, but I haven't been watching like TV, but I've been catching clips here and there through YouTube, and commenting and really enjoying seeing how many people see the situation for what it really is. And then also perplexed by how the media has spun the situation. So if you're somebody who's not able to tune into it and you're not seeing comments and you're relying on regular TV and news to give you the scoop on what's going on with that situation, it's off. It's really off, and it's very much trying to kind of bury Johnny Depp. Whereas if you're watching online and you've been following this circus and kind of seeing the day-to-day and just the lies and the manipulation and the recordings and everything that's transpired, and then the comments, you would see that most people see Johnny Depp as the more innocent person here, and that Amber Heard truly has issues. And the psychologist has taken the stand. Finally, a psychologist has stepped in and evaluated her and said basically she likely has personality disorder and possibly histrionic, and she did an amazing job describing those things. And I would love to have clips of her soundtrack just to kind of go over that, because it's really, really compelling. But that was one thing that I wanted to say. It's really interesting to me that this person, who the preponderance of evidence thus far anyway seems to indicate that she lied about so many things and set Johnny up for being portrayed as an abuser when she in fact was taunting, instigating, creating hell for this man who, yes, is a recreational drug user, but has had 30 plus years of success managing his career, his movie career. He had been kind of, in his private bubble in his previous marriage and was, basically a private kind of peaceful soul. And whether you like him or don't like him, he did not have a track record of any kind of abuse, which usually abusers have things that leak out, and, people know their reputation. So for him to be kind of smeared this way, and then to have the things come out in the court where she actually wanted his name associated with the article that appeared in the Washington Post, and she has people from the ACLU, the person who took Amber's money that she promised to give to the ACLU. A lot of that money was not even directly from her. A big chunk of it came from Johnny Depp himself. There's just all of this information coming out that's depicting her as dishonest, abusive, malicious, manipulative, all kinds of things. And I feel there are a whole bunch of things about this that I think are positive. I think people are truly getting to see that even somebody as powerful as Johnny Depp and as powerful as somebody like Will Smith, they can be stuck in these relationships where they feel trapped. Maybe it's because they're men. Maybe it's because they came from abusive childhoods and they feel like they need to compensate and save this relationship. And that's the, quote, right thing to do. For whatever reason, these men stay. And thankfully, Johnny didn't stay nearly as long as somebody like Will Smith. But I mean, his situation, if you listen to the testimonies, the things that this woman did to instigate and elicit anger and some kind of response, just really poking him with a stick in every possible way, and then setting him up with these pictures. It's just very, very disturbing, but it's also triggering for many of us who've been in situations where we felt like we were always walking on eggshells, could say or do no right, constantly in fear of retribution from physical acts, verbal abuse, being set up, being portrayed to other people in a way and in a manner that's completely different than who we actually are as people. So the world is getting a front row seat to this dynamic in a relationship, and it's happening in many relationships. So people are finally getting to see what that looks like, and I wanted to say a lot more about this, and I'm trying to figure out how to use clips and do all these things to kind of really take pieces of what people are saying. But ultimately, I thought I would just share this now. There's two reasons. One, because it's in the press, and I wanted to quickly, or not so quickly, because I've been really absorbing it. But I wanted to say why I think this is positive. I just said some of it. But what the sad part is that even with all of this out there, this woman who is supposed to be an advocate and a poster child for domestic violence has not been dethroned from that role. She is still in the role of an abused woman, when all of this evidence thus far paints her as extremely provoking and abusive towards him. And I'm not saying that he didn't do things to her. I believe he did. I believe the two of them together were extremely toxic, especially toward the end. And it's disturbing to listen to what went on between them, but it is also very clear that he tries very hard to walk away, to get some space, to de-escalate the situation, whereas she's trying really hard to escalate. And I think for what I'm reading in comments all over the place is women who have been through abuse, who know what that really looks like, watching her testify and have these like fake sad faces where she's trying to emulate what it might look like as an abused woman it's really disturbing. It's disrespectful to women who've actually been through abuse. And I think it's tragic that somebody hasn't pointed that out and ripped her out of that role thus far. Regardless of the end of the trial or how it pans out, just so much of what we've seen already shows that this woman took advantage of the situation, and she really misrepresented herself to so many people, and they bought it. Many of them bought it hook, line, and sinker. I don't think any people who actually faced abuse really saw her as a role model or one of their own in any way. I just don't think she portrays herself that way, and she doesn't come across really as honest. Hopefully somebody will step in and do something about that, because it is just tragic that she's able to continue down that path. And bravo for Johnny. I mean, what's interesting is watching the standard news and how they're covering this. They don't understand why Johnny would wreck his career with this, which he was a private man. For as far as I can see, he cannot lose, because as much as he's putting himself out there, and it's not pleasant what people are learning about him and his lifestyle, but it also is depicting her in this very true, very ugly light that he had no other way to bring that to light. It didn't work. He had a case in the UK, and that a lot of the evidence was buried, and he wasn't able to really show what happened. And so even though this is brutal, and it's probably difficult for him because he wanted to protect his family, his kids, again, his own reputation, at the same time, the balance of both of it, I feel it's working for him because people are truly on his side. And if you're not somebody on his side, then, that's No comment. But what's interesting is the airwaves. It's just the major channels are not, they're either totally out of touch or it's scripted to do this Hollywood thing where they're kind of blacklisting him and pushing him out, which is really rough. I put a comment on YouTube on the segment that was just so totally tone deaf and out of touch with the way people are perceiving this trial. It's as though the person hadn't even watched it, and it was really negative towards Johnny Depp. And I wrote a comment in there from my perspective as somebody who's interviewed and been in abuse and interviewed many women. And more than 2,000 people have, seen that, commented, liked, and commented themselves. And women in our shoes and men are saying the same thing. And it's like, they just don't get it. They don't understand that you will do anything, really, if you can have your chance to shine the spotlight on the person who truly is the abuser. You don't lose. There's validation there. There's saving your own reputation. There's peace of mind. There's actual healing. And then hopefully that person, in this case Amber, hopefully justice will be served with her. I may have to break this up into two pieces, but what I wanted to say that relates to this is that a lot of people are saying they're angry because this Amber Heard makes the women who really are abused, she's perpetuating the stereotype that women create false charges against men. Well, that does happen, but I know there are many, many, many cases where the men are able to spin in the opposite direction and take a woman who's been victimized many years over, primary caregiver of a child, and turn her into the abuser, cut off her connection to her children, and create a restraining order and paint her in the most negative light possible. So while I was having that thought, one of the organizations, hopefully we'll be able to interview somebody from this organization soon, is called DV Leap. DV Leap, L-E-A-P, DV Leap. So what they do is they help cases that were unfair, and they help them go get a retrial and fight their case. So if you've been defeated, you can go back, you can get this support. It's a nonprofit from DV Leap, and they will help refight your case with you, for you. You can reach out to them for advice, for any kind of documentation you might need, any case studies that will help your case. So DV Leap, go check it out if you're in the middle of court, you need support. Maybe you've just been wronged. You have nowhere to turn. You've used all your money, but you know that what happened in court was wrong and you want some help. Go look them up. It's DV Leap. And I was just reading that in my own state, and this pertains to one of my next guests who I interviewed in early April, and I haven't even wanted to share her story. Her name is Stephanie Pianades. She's in my state. She is one of these women who things were spun against her, and it's a very disturbing interview. Her situation is really disturbing, but I got this just now in my inbox from DV Leap. They had a win for protecting survivors' voices in Massachusetts, and I'm going to just read this to you because before I share Stephanie's story, I have two things. I want to share this positive news because I know that her story could get people very depressed and possibly have a negative impact on your hope, your faith in your case. I also have someone coming on to work through triggers so that you can listen to content that you may need to know to help you with your case. Even if it is triggering, you need to know how to fight, because this is the reality. There are really ugly things happening in our system, and much of it is happening in my home state of Massachusetts. It's very, very disturbing. So DV Leap is, I'm just going to read this. They're thrilled for their client, LR, a survivor who successfully defeated her abuser's attempt to flip the script by falsely presenting himself as a domestic violence victim and obtaining a protection order against her. A formidable Baker Botts team, Alexandra Dunn, Samantha Olson, and Caroline Jones, joined DV Leap to represent LR in her appeal, and as a result of their excellent advocacy, the protection order was vacated. LR will have the opportunity that the trial court denied her to defend herself against baseless, harmful accusations and to tell her side of the story as the target of emotional, psychological, and sexual abuse. It is far from uncommon for an abuser to use the court system against those it is supposed to protect. And this is what happened in the Johnny Depp case, in my opinion. Here, the abuser, BW, twisted LR's attempt to bring closure to their relationship into the basis for seeking a protection order against her. And the trial court let him. In a virtual hearing without turning on her own video screen, the trial judge listened to BW describe LR, a teacher, taking violent and injurious actions against him. None of his testimony was supported by the many texts, emails submitted to the court as evidence. Instead, those documents presented a clear, chilling picture of BW's cruelty, manipulation, and violence. That's his text that he sent her. However, the judge refused to let LR testify, reviewed the evidence submitted by BW that LR hadn't even seen, and cut off her attorney's attempts to challenge BW's accusations through cross-examination. The judge then granted him the protection order. So I saw in many comments, like, this is what women do. Men are always screwed in court. Let me just tell you, that is not true. And women do not have the upper hand. I know that this is far from the truth. And that's why these organizations like DV Leap are here to help, because it is very common for the abuser to flip it and make it look like the victim is the abuser. And they do so successfully. I just read to you, the judge didn't even allow this woman to defend herself. And she wasn't even allowed. Her attorney wasn't even allowed to see the evidence. Not okay. So, in a decisively worded opinion, the Massachusetts Court of Appeals agreed with our argument that LR, the woman, had not been granted a meaningful opportunity to be heard. The opinion, which will serve as precedent for future cases, upholds an essential due process right for the many survivors like her who are forced to endure the additional trauma of having a court believe and protect the person who abused them. This is a critical victory. Whew! So I'm really excited about this, and I wanted to make this because I'm actually just tired of reading like all of these men saying that women have the upper hand in court. I would say that is not even close to the truth, and it may vary from state to state, but I know in my state it is certainly the opposite. And we also have a lot of judges that are, some of them are being cleared out, but there's a real problem, and it's not just my state. There are many states. And so again, I'm sharing this with you to shed light on the reality of what's happening with the Johnny Depp case. Yes, it can happen with men, but more often it happens with women who are victims, and the men gain custody of children, wrongly continue to abuse them. The women can lose their jobs, their careers. These men just get off scot-free. The women have very little. And they're just beaten down. They were already abused for a decade or more, and they're just beaten down, cut off from their kids, cut off from family because, hey, well, the court voted for the guy, so it must be true. So just know we can't make assumptions about male, female. The biases are there, and they happen on both sides. And so I just wanted to share this with you as well as a positive, because when you hear Stephanie's case again in my state, it is scary to hear what happened with her, and she's still fighting her case, and I'm going to check in with her and see if there's an update. And then in between, I will have an episode with Stacey Every, and Stacey will be talking about different methodologies and different things you can do to keep yourself calm, keep your body calm when you're feeling anxious, triggered, and really get in touch with internal trauma. Not all the different methodologies, protocols work. We're all different. Our bodies are all different. Our histories are all different. The way we're wired. what happened to us as children, what happened to us in the more recent past. All these things trigger us in different ways. And so she has a bunch of different things that she's going to recommend for people. And so that will be coming up soon, and you can tune into that one. I thought this was more important to put out first. So thank you for listening. If you know of anybody who needs to hear this, please do share, please do subscribe, and I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next episode. All right, take care.